Hello everybody, this is Simon with the 4th episode of Let's Play Donkey Kong Land. Apart from a few highlights, World 2 isn't particularly exciting. Short stages abound, so get ready for a whopping 5 levels in one video, woo! This first stage here already is an example of a stage that doesn't really have anything going for it but well going forward. However, this is a type of level that needs to exist. One that is completely gimmick-free, but still manages to be pretty fun. It's just about the level design here, the enemy placement, and I really enjoy this level. It's just, as said, not particularly exciting or anything worth talking about. The only thing that is really prevalent here is the jumping enemies, and they are really pushed into overdrive here. Like so. And a variation here. So the N is actually kind of tricky to get, and fuck tires. But you should know how to deal with them by now. Unlike me. Yeah, I tend to rush here, and those guys always surprise me, even though I should know that they are going to be here. Anyway, time for the home stretch, and not even that much hidden bonus. Rambai! This actually demonstrates that it's kind of tricky to jump on enemies with Rambi because you tend to run into them. This will just make him bounce a little hop. And so I didn't get all the bananas. Fortunately, he's not in too many levels, so this shoddiness doesn't translate into falling into bottomless pits all the time. Oh yeah, that was barely 1.5 minutes of level, but as said, pretty enjoyable. Now we're getting to something a bit less enjoyable, because it's our first underwater level. Many games have very bad underwater levels. This game here does have bad underwater levels, but I don't think that this one is a prime example of one. And in general, I'd say it has better underwater levels than many of its competitors. Those enemies are completely new. Pretty much every underwater enemy is completely new and original to this game here. But you can see an immediate problem with those clam things here. That is that sometimes they take quite a lot of time to get around. Fortunately, most of the time you can just scrape by going over them. And their hitbox is pretty generous too for situations like that. In general, this level here is pretty good in that it avoids trapping you by throwing enemies at you that you couldn't conceivably see ahead of time. You still have to stop and consider what you're doing sometimes, but it could be way worse. And there are those columns that obstruct your vision, but never in a way that the enemies... there's a column, that the enemies come from behind it and you cannot see them. So that's cool. Overall, except for this very scary part here, all of those clams here, and they're just hiding the N. Overall, this level doesn't have much going for it again, but it's smooth playing through it, and without too many hitches. This Kong barrel is kind of dickishly hidden, and I don't mind it very much. For an underwater level, it's enjoyable enough romp through it. Even though you have to stop at places and wait for enemies to move by, it's not too big of a deal. As said again, this column section is completely void of enemies, just hiding a few bananas, and that's a good thing, again. Generally, hiding stuff in those underwater levels, there are no secret levels in any underwater level. They probably don't know how to implement them or something, but this means, whoopsie daisy, that is one tough situation, but thank you Donkey Kong for getting this one on the way up. So the only thing you are looking for is bananas and coins hidden in caches like this one here, and while all of this gets you pretty much meaningless lives, it's always nice finding stuff that is hidden somewhere. It feels good. I like it. And again, a secondary goal after the first one, so you don't have to backtrack, like in a previous level. That's very nice of the game. So from a somewhat unexciting but still feasible water level, we get to an actually good water level. Fancy that. It starts with the music, of course. Apart from a few misplaced Game Boy sounds, this still is a very nice tune. However, I do want to say something about the level, so excuse me for talking on. This level here is a prime example of how to make a water level, because it is constant moving forward, it has a very good flow, even though you're just swimming. The bananas show you the way. As with the two tires just now and this one here, you don't ever have to stop and wait for an enemy to pass by. Even here you can just scrape by because the walls are kind of malleable. Or here, they are perfectly placed for you to go through and never stop. Ever. Just a little slalom here, for example, and Donkey Kong Country 3, for example, has very bad water levels because you have to do sections like this where you have to go in slalom constantly. This game is very good at shaking its obstacles up. For example, those things here are basically optional. You can speed through the level, no problem at all. Oh, look at this cute crab. I love it. Rare speeches for googly eyes. It's getting to me sometimes. Anyway, I do hesitate here for a little bit, for example, but if you're confident, just go forward. There's nothing stopping you. The checkpoints are also generous, and... I found this one here by accident the very first time I played the level, because I think it is also designed that way, to just, you're sinking down to the N, and suddenly, oh, hey, there is actually no floor here. They never do this to hide bonus levels, because, as said, there are no bonus levels underwater, so I'm completely fine with that. I've never seen the top path, but I'm pretty sure that it's not very interesting or exciting, because, well, this is still an underwater level. The fish formation just now, just dodge it by waiting it out. I think this is the best option because going between fish is kind of a pain in the ass because the water controls aren't the most precise in the world. They are manageable enough, but let's just say I'm glad that most of the time you don't have to do precision swimming. And for an immediate comparison, as I just got hit, yes, Diddy is far faster than Donkey Kong underwater. He's also smaller. So there is absolutely no reason to ever use Donkey underwater, except if, well, you expect to get hit in this stage and want to have Diddy, the superior Kong, as a backup. Excuse the shoddy editing, by the way, but I wanted to make clear where I'm going, actually. Got a split path again, more on this after the stage. This stage here is not a very good stage. After a very good water level, we now get a okay-ish, but not very well thought out fillerish stage on ground. This is our introduction to the tornado, for some reason, because we're going to have an entire stage and dick move devoted to it later on, so I don't really get it. And those enemy spawners, you might remember them in a different form from Donkey Kong Country. They can also be destroyed by TNT barrels unless the game is dickish about it. Fortunately, there is a different way to get up to this bonus here. Yep. And this is a background we haven't seen yet so far. Also a level gimmick we haven't seen so far yet. I hope that those two things don't get combined later on because they're horrible. Just look at this fucking background. Bunch of geometric shapes and hearts or whatever. And this platform is far too slow for my liking. And there is not much going on. Really hoping that we won't see a level like this later on. And what is this last part supposed to accomplish anyway? Oh, anyway, we've got the O and we are out of that. Back to not really well thought out level. As said, what is the point of those bananas above the zinger, for example? Why should you ever get them unless you're feeling cocking like I am? And those TNT barrels to get rid of the enemy spawners are also kind of strangely placed, especially if you're Donkey Kong. As said, generally, apart from sections like this that make you jump over the things that come down, and I greatly appreciate the bananas here or here where you can use the spawn to get on, this is also a dick move, because jumping over this pit here with the barrel in hand is an asshole, and if you get rid of the spawner behind there, then you've just fucked yourself over. Congratulations. So what's the barrel for anyway? Generally, as said, this level here is not very well thought out at all. And it ends kind of abruptly, but it's, well, just getting the barrel anyway. So whatever! And you can always choose the other one, which I'm going to do right now. Because contrary to the setup in World 1, where you had 2 stone obstructions and 1 barrel to get both of them, this time you have 2 levels to get 1 stone obstruction. So you can completely choose the level, and the other one is really optional. It's a better setup in my opinion, but it suffers because this level here is also pretty horrible. It is a prime example of how not to do an underwater level, I think. It's just, most of the time it's basic swimming around, and very, very often there are just enemies coming out of nowhere, which you don't really know, like here. You can't really see coming unless you're seriously going slow, and I don't want to do this in this game, because all the other time it is really good about making you move forward without obstructing your progress, and here nothing like that. Fortunately, you can cheese it again by just going over the fish, but I don't know if they intended it for you to do that way. Later on we will have a fish formation which you can't cheese, and again, enemy out of nowhere, which you can't cheese, and so they probably were aware of the problem. Not like here. But generally you very often in this level have to wait for enemies to go by, and if you remember correctly, the last water level didn't have anything of the sort at all. So they knew how to do it, they just chose not to. But maybe this level here is just shoddily slapped on because they wanted to have another choice or something for the barrel. It's also very short and pretty much inconsequential. This is the fish formation. That's actually pretty hard to get by. I said precision swimming, not cool. But anyway, this level is pretty short and fillery anyway, so I don't mind it overly much because it's optional in every which way. Hope I could keep your attention through all of those levels anyway. For now, this was Simon with Let's Play Donkey Kong Land, and thank you very much for your attention.